I was a police officer. So I don't know what's going on and how it just keeps getting worse and worse. When I first got out of law school, I started representing police officers that were being disciplined by the police departments. Now, you talk about the dirtiest tricks in the books. That's when a police department goes after one of its own. They will eat them alive. And then you come talk to us criminal defense lawyers and ask, who are the police officers who are really breaking the rules out here? It's not the ones the department goes after. Those are their golden children. They protect them at all cost. Anyway, it's been fascinating to watch this, how the DWI arena has changed so much. In San Antonio, we have blood draws every day of the year. And to get a blood warrant in San Antonio or in Austin during the no refusal programs, odor of alcohol in your breath, bloodshot eyes, and then one more thing will get you a search warrant. The refusal to give them evidence, to take the field sobriety tests, which are designed for failure. And I was writing something yesterday, and I was saying, how is it that the odor of alcohol and bloodshot eyes, that's not enough to get a search warrant. But if you merely add in, and he would not take the tests and give us evidence in violation of your constitutional rights, then that's enough to get a warrant. If they pulled you over in front of your house and you had a legalized marijuana bumper sticker in your car, and you get out of your car and you're wearing a Cheech and Chong t-shirt, can they then go get a warrant to search your house because you tell them they can't search your house?
It's amazing. They're saying, really, it's a threat. We're going to jab a needle in your arm if you don't blow. If you exercise your Fourth Amendment, that's evidence that you're bad. That is 180 degrees the opposite of what our country was founded on.
And what would our founding fathers say if they saw it's bad enough what Washington, D.C. is doing to us as they bend us over every day, us people that work for a living, work hard, and try to earn a living for our families. But then when you come down to your local neighborhoods and see now what your local police departments are doing, it just sickens me. It's an incredible...
Well, now they're expanding it, and that was my next question. The statistics, I saw it just a few months ago, but I know you'll know more about it than I will. 5 times more dangerous to text while driving, but they're not doing anything about that other than just saying, well, if you have a phone in your hand, you're going to get a ticket. No. Reckless driving. I mean, isn't that the way to go after it? I mean, I've seen the statistics. I mean, they hype it up, yeah, and there are some deaths, but drunk driving compared to a lot of other things isn't even on the chart. It's just a way to grab the general public.
A couple of points. You made a great one earlier, and I argue this all the time. We have enough laws on the books. We had enough laws on the books 20 years ago. We don't need more laws. Hate crimes is a pathetic excuse of a way to create new laws to target individuals. We've always had laws against assault and harassment and bullying. Enforce them. And if it's a very egregious case, then give them a higher sentence within the range that we're allowed by law. Another thing is that these checkpoints are talking about doing for DWIs in Texas. I rue the day when that happens for DWI, but currently they're doing it for driver's license. And they're doing a run-in around the Constitution. Statistics, we read the statistics of some 18,000 people plus killed every year by alcohol-related crashes. If I'm completely sober and I pick up 3 of my friends and one of them in the back seat had a beer and an 18-wheeler runs a red light and kills me, that's an alcohol-related death, according to NHTSA standards. If it does not necessarily mean that the person driving the vehicle that caused the collision and caused the injury was intoxicated. So they're using statistics to fool the people. It's upsetting when you start digging behind the veil that the Wizard of Oz has put up.
What about the hypocrisy? Because I've seen statistics that police are the hardest drinking group statistically. I mean, it's been proven in studies. People can look them up. And then I read about police letting other police off when they're actually are seriously drunk. And then, I mean, how do cops engage in hypocritical activity? How do police arrest people college kids they find with a little bag of weed when the cop themselves smoked pot in college or may even be a pot smoker then. I mean, I mean, something like 85% of the American people have at least tried marijuana. I mean, this is all just a giant excuse to put people in prison and raise money.
That's right. When my kids the other day, we went out to a restaurant. It was one of the mom and pop kind of a places in Austin. And I said, look in the kitchen, guys. And I said, who's cooking the meals? Who's doing the cleaning and everything? And they said, and it was probably individuals who were from south of the Texas border, not born in our country. When I was growing up, there were a lot of blacks that were working in the kitchens, you know, and I told my kids that, and I said, you know where so many of the blacks are now? They're in prison. They're in prison over nonviolent crimes. They're taken into a system that will indoctrinate them and force them to join gangs and become violent criminals.
They're sent to criminal prison.
That's correct.
I mean, they're sent to criminal college.
Criminal college. It's horrible. When you go to these courtrooms and just listen to what's going on in the court, we don't want drunk drivers killing people in our roadways. We don't want rapists and pedophiles and murderers and violent bank robbers out here just doing what they please. But they're sending nonviolent individuals to prison without trying to help them at all. There's no money for rehabilitation. There's no money for job training. It's a joke, and it keeps the system churning, but the system keeps getting bigger, so they're having to take more of the fodder, the sheeple in this country, and shove them into the machine.
Well, that's right. They're done, feeding on the black folks. They pretty much consume most of them. The illegals, I've noticed, and I've talked to police, I've seen it in the news, the judges just let them go because I guess they're outside of the system. Have you seen that anomaly where the police are told to basically go easy on the illegals, but if you're a Hispanic American and had 3 beers, you're going to jail, or you're white or black or Asian? Have you seen that?
Well, especially in Austin, because for decades now, they've been a haven and they used to have a term for it.
Sanctuary city. Sanctuary
city. And we were basically told, leave them alone. Now, I didn't have a problem with leaving home somebody who was working hard and being productive.
Sure, but that doesn't mean leave them alone when they're engaged in all sorts of crimes, while citizens are seen as chumps to be fed on.
Exactly, and I agree completely with that. But we were leaned on that if we made an arrest of an illegal alien of Hispanic descent, then we were being racist, and it wasn't true. But when you're a police officer, and it's okay, I can enforce the laws as they're supposed to be enforced, and I can catch a bunch of trouble from my supervisors and get investigated by internal affairs, or I can just go sit at Dunkin' Donut and just screw it all. And one of the old sayings we had when I was at APD is nobody gets in trouble with internal affairs for eating a donut. They eventually did have an officer who got suspended because he was sitting at Dunkin' Donut and he took a radio call. He got in there and said that he had arrived at the call. Then he cleared the call and he hadn't even finished his donut and coffee yet. So that was the one time that's happened.
Amazing. I mean, it's such a joke. I've told the story like probably 100 times, but I'll tell it briefly. One night we had an IT problem and I had to come up here for a contractor, and I pull up and there's 4 police cars right out here, and they're running around inside the office, and the IT guy's in handcuffs being put in a car. And I go over there and I go, what's going on? Like, oh, hi, Alex. And it's a woman cop putting him in the car, but the 3 male cops are talking to me. And they go, oh, we all like your show. And I go, what are you doing in my office? Oh, we thought he darted in here. So she pulled in here, and then well, his driver's license was expired. So we're going to go ahead, and I thought, you arrest? They go, well, we can arrest even for no seatbelt now. And I'm going, but if he was an illegal alien, you'd let him go. Well, that's true. We're told to do that. And I'm just like, so I start telling her, hey, let him go. They're like, now don't interfere. So they were all real friendly, but they were ready to take me to jail for just going, hey, common sense, guys, common sense. So what if he has an expired license? He's here to get my computers working. But they'd use that to come in the office, claiming that he darted in here. He didn't dart in here. He drives like an old woman. He's out there right now. I mean, the point is that it's like secret police on the American people, like I live in North Korea or something, but then the illegal aliens are above the law. It really irritates me.
Just just sticking to the topic of the fact that except for speeding and open container in your vehicle, they can arrest for every other offense or allegation of a traffic offense, a Class C misdemeanor. That remember that soccer mom in Lago Vista with her kids in the car. That
she stopped at her mailbox 100 yards away, like a lot of neighborhoods have them in one spot. The kids get out of the seatbelt. Mine do that when we get close to home sometimes, and they take her to jail.
That's right. That's just incredible. And, you know, that police officer should have been brought in. He should have been
Okay, his Skype just cut out. We're going to reconnect with our guest. I tell you, 45 minutes has gone by so quick. I've got to get him back on this. I want to get him in studio because I've seen him on TV and seen his ads, and I've talked to people that because I want to get into what you do if you've had 2-3 beers, you know, at the football game, and you're driving home, and you know the cop wants you to blow in a breathalyzer. What do you do at that point? Because I mean, I remember one time a cop pulled me over and it was about 11 o'clock at night, and I said, I'm coming home from work. And he goes, what do you do? And I said, and he knew who I was, and later he said that. And he goes, well, that's a little late in all this. And I went ahead and let him do it, but at a certain point I said, I'm not doing this anymore. Follow the red light. Do this, do that. And I said, look, I hadn't been drinking. He goes, well, I want you to blow in a breathalyzer. And I said, you know what? I said, you may beat the rat, but you're not going to beat the rat. I'm going to sue you and leave me alone. But anyways, going back to our guest, Jamie, continue with the point you were making when you cut out.
The feds must have been listening in on us and cutting out. Now, what's irritating is we have transformed the police departments from to protect to serve. What did they used to tell? I'm 55 years old. When I was a kid, if I got lost, if I had problems, who was I supposed to go find? A police officer. I'm not so certain that's what is supposed to happen nowadays. You know, who do you send your kids to? Because they might start investigating why you're lost. And maybe your parents have endangered you, which is a felony, and then CPS gets involved, and the agencies all do work together. It's very, very frightening and disconcerting what's happening amongst our law enforcement criminal justice system. I remember watching that the first Terminator movie, and there's the huge machine that's rolling over the skulls at the beginning of the movie. And I tell my clients oftentimes, and in the DW arena, you meet people that have never done so much as a traffic ticket before, and now they've spent the night in jail. They're good people. They're our neighbors. They're us. And I tell them that is the criminal justice system. It crushes and destroys lives. So you can't just hook up thinking, oh, it's no big deal. Once I get into the courts, then I'll be protected. Look at how many cases we're seeing now of prosecutors who are hiding Brady material, shredding evidence. Oh,
they get caught sending innocent people with no criminal record to death row, and for 20 years try to keep them in there knowing they're innocent, wanting to get them executed.
And what happens to them once they're caught?
Nothing.
Maybe they don't win their election, but other than that, nothing. It's a shame.
Well, that's another question, though. How do we get so evil? I mean, I get it's a machine, but I mean, I would really not sleep good at night if I sent an innocent person to jail and then tried to keep them in there. I mean, how? Well, these are some evil people.
We have our jury system. That is the last bastion of freedom in America. And you would not believe what I encounter in these juries. They say that in a typical criminal